This is the plaintiff, Karen Torres. She says her father was struck and killed by a distracted cement truck driver the day after his 66th birthday, and she knew she had to do something to prevent this from happening to someone else. She decided to lecture and was hired by the defendant's organization called the Texting Awareness Foundation. He hired her to speak at schools, lectured 3 times, but wasn't paid, and she's here suing him for the $800 she's owed. This is the defendant, Rocco Panetta. He says he doesn't feel he owes the plaintiff a thing because their agreement stipulated she would pay him to use his services such as email, support, website, decals, banners, things like that. She hasn't paid him for any of these things as their agreement stipulates, and since she isn't willing to pay for his organization's support, he owes nothing. He's accused of not getting the message.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiff's dad was struck and killed by a distracted driver. The plaintiff signed on with the defendant's lecturing company to talk about the dangers of texting and driving, and then says she got stiff. But the defendant says her payment was access to email, websites, and stuff like that. It's the case of texting danger.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Torres, you are suing Rocco Panetta and his company, actually, Texting Awareness Foundation, Incorporated. You're the founder and director?
Yes, ma'am.
For $800 that you say they owe you for 3 speaking engagements that they didn't pay you for, correct?
Yes.
All right, talk to me and explain to me what you're telling me here.
Can I explain to you what I do for a living? St. Patrick's Day of 2006, my father was working on Sunrise Highway in Eastport, Long Island, and while he was working for the Department of Transportation, a cement truck driver had entered the work zone, and as he was, not only was he speeding, but he was just drinking a bottle of water, and when he went to go grab it, it slipped out of his hands, and he reached down to pick it up. But when he did that, not only did he take his eyes off the road, but he pulled the steering wheel down with him. And by the time he looked back up, he had crossed over the closed lane and he slammed to the work zone. And that's where he ran over my father and killed him instantly.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Thank you. About 2 years after my father's death, I had this burning desire of wanting to go out and share his story. Texting really wasn't big back then, 11 years ago, but now that it's become such a deadly epidemic, I felt that sharing my dad's story and people knowing that I am living proof that by taking your eyes off the road, someone can be killed.
Let me ask you, Mr. Panetta, when did you start your foundation?
And the end of 2010.
And was there a reason why?
I'm a salesperson on the road, and as I'm traveling, you see people and what they're doing on their phones, so I just saw the need to try to do something and bring awareness to this danger that's killing people every day.
So what does Texting Awareness Foundation Incorporated do?
Our mission is to remind the public every day as possible through PSAs, signage, reminders through radio and advertisement of the danger of texting and driving, because we feel that we know people know that it's wrong. They need to be reminded not to do that and not to text and drive.
Everybody thinks they're better at it than they are.
Yes. It's not going to happen to me.
Right. And this is an issue that is near and dear to us here at the People's Court because one of our own lost her baby, whom she was strolling, to a jitney driver who was texting and driving. So before another word, I want to thank both of you from all of us here in the bottom of all of our hearts and everyone who has ever been affected by this issue, which is an epidemic, okay? Thank you for the work that the two of you do.
Thank you.
Because you truly do God's work.
Thank you.
Okay, so talk to me, Ms. Torres, what happened here?
So I was working for another not-for-profit at the time, back in 2009. They received a grant to start a teen driving awareness program. They asked me to if I would like to be the speaker, which of course I was really excited about. I would say, I believe it was somewhere in 2010, probably the summer of 2010, Mr. Panetta had requested a meeting. He had asked if I would like to be a speaker for his foundation as well. Of course, absolutely, I would love to do it. So I started working with him. He would contract me to go and speak at driver's ed classes throughout Long Island. And after I was done speaking, I would send an invoice every week. And I would get paid usually within 3 weeks.
Okay. And normally, what was your rate for speaking?
For him, for driver's ed, was only $150 for one class, $50 for if there was two. And then if there was an assembly that I would do at a high school, it was $300 for one, $500 if there was two in a row.
Okay. Was she good at it?
Yes, she was.
She's very good at it, right?
Yes, she has an
I'm really
emotional
good at it.
connection with her loss.
Okay, so let's talk about the relationship between you two. Like, how is it that it would work? Does the school pay the foundation, I presume? Because they have a budget for that.
The foundation operates, and we do all our presentations for free. We do not charge the schools.
Okay.
We do not charge the businesses. We
So
do not charge.
where does the money come from to pay a speaker?
We get funding from outside sources
Donations?
through donations, as well as Allstate Insurance was one of our supporters, and other insurance companies, and some local municipalities are also contributing, to funding.
How many times did you work with them?
Oh gosh, a
Lot.
lot. 6 years. We worked
years.
together for almost 6 years.
And average, how many a year?
My goodness. It's changed because I used to do a lot of driver's ed, and then I started my own business, All For You Dad, and then I would only do assemblies only.
Now, when you would do All For You Dad and Assemblies Only, did that have anything to do with him or no?
Correct. Any organizations, different organizations contract me out. It's not just Mr. Panetta. It's not just the Texting Awareness Foundation.
Okay.
I work with other organizations as well.
Tell me about the $800, the 3 particular speaking engagements that we are talking about.
One high school, the confirmation was in April, that I'd be speaking on May 24th. And then
Of what year?
2016.
Okay.
And then May 25th of 2016, I would be doing 2 programs at one high school, one in the morning and one in the evening.
And then, so what happens? You speak.
I spoke. I sent that Friday, I would send my invoice in to the accounting department, and I haven't received payment. I spoke again in July, and I sent the invoice over, and I also put a note in there that I still haven't gotten paid for May. Never heard anything. At the end of October, I did receive July's payment, and I sent a very nice email to Rocco and to the accounting department stating that thank you very much, that I received my check. Thank you for July's payment. However, I'm not sure if you remember.
Realize,
Right.
Do you ever get a response?
I got a very sarcastic response.
Okay, do you have that in writing?
I do.
May I
I do
see
have
it?
the email, yes. Thank you.
I always look forward to be reminded of what I still owe when payments are received. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I just received July's payment, and I was...
Well, I know, but if you're owed it, you're owed it. What did that mean? What did that email mean?
I was saying that it's nice to be reminded when you do receive a payment from us, you're reminding me that I still owe you money.
But what do you expect her to do? She's supposed to be grateful for getting 1/3 of what she's owed, or what were you mad at? Like, in other words, I don't think that it's terrible to remind you because you agree that in terms of fees, she is correct that she never got paid for May, right?
I don't agree with the fees, no. I agree she hasn't been paid for that invoice, but I don't agree with the fees.
Okay, and why don't you agree with the fees?
You can look at all previous invoices that I've provided with you. I don't know if Mrs. Torres has, but her rates were different. And she arbitrarily changed her rates to these particular numbers, which were increased. As she stated in the beginning, she was working with us, the Texting Awareness Foundation, for the first few years. She didn't have her own company. She wasn't doing her own thing, really, with All For You Dad. But over in 2016, she really put a push on it and started soliciting our same clients by getting separate funding from other locations. So she would be able to keep all that money for herself, instead of the Texting Awareness Foundation having that money to use to be able to save lives and help people every single day.
There are other people who are also
she's
trying to save lives. But,
Right,
okay.
so she's going and soliciting our same clients and offering them, we'll do these presentations for free for you, but I have funding from a different source, which we were always doing them for free for the schools. So now she's able to get more money.
Was she able to take any clients from you?
Yes, she has.
Okay, so that's
She's
what
doing
went
the
wrong
same
between you
schools
two.
that we've been doing.
But what is the reason why you feel you don't have to pay her for May? Because you say she changed her rates?
She increased her rates because she was getting more monies now by working directly, having separate funding. So
When
she was
did
able to
she
get more
increase
money.
her rates?
In 2016, here on this
Okay,
invoice.
had you ever paid her the $300 and the $500 for prior speaking engagements before May?
No.
Okay,
That's
show
a
me
lie.
show me your record of payment to her. Did you solicit any of what were formerly his clients?
No, he did. No, actually,
Did any of the clients he had you speak for hire you?
Other schools had contacted me because they wanted me to speak at their school. They wanted me to speak there.
Were those schools you had ever spoken at on his behalf?
There was some, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm a contracted agent. I
don't begrudge anybody the right to grow.
Yeah, thank you.
That's fine. Okay. Now, these are Rocky Point driver's ed says $100. Okay. Distracted driver presentation at Longwood area, $100. This is in July. You're handing me all driver's ed stuff, but then you just handed me an April one for a high school, and it in fact says $300. So you knew her rate was different for driver's ed than it was for this kind of speech.
Well, it describes an assembly there, I believe.
Yeah. Right. So what she did in May, was it driver's ed?
It doesn't describe it as an assembly. They're driver's ed classes.
I'm sorry. It says here, distracted driving awareness assembly for Comac High School, $300.
Yes.
Right. Longwood driver's ed is 100. Longwood driver's ed is 100. Longwood driver's ed is 100. Rocky Point driver's ed is 100. That's exactly what she's saying, that she charges one thing for assemblies and another thing for driver's ed.
Correct.
So where's the rate? And then here's another one in April. These are all before the May dates, where you are paying her $300 for a single one, and that's what she says her rate is, $300 for a single one, and then there's a break for when there's a double. So I've lost you. Where is it that she sua sponte raised her rate? You paid her prior to the May event. You have been paying her in April.
The bill that question that she is not paid for is not an assembly. It's a presentation for driver's ed.
They're both at high schools. They're at Clark High School and Huntington High School.
Yes.
Okay.
But it does not describe them as assemblies.
What's the difference between a driver's ed and a high school?
Okay, I want you to be honest with me, okay? Do you text and drive? Ever?
Maybe.
What do you say?
I don't text and drive.
That's excellent. And ma'am?
I do it all the time.
You do it all the time. It's a terrible, you do realize this is just like you get lucky every time. It's a terrible idea going inside the courtroom.
Driver's ed is just the driver's ed class specifically, but when I started doing assemblies, which is mostly I would do 11th and 12th graders together, so I would have a huge audience. And that's really what I really want. That's my passion, is to be speaking in front of huge audiences.
All
He
right.
still gets a very, very cheap rate.
Okay, now the 300 and the 500 for distracted driving presentation, those were in front of high schools in an assembly?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I think what's pretty evident to me is that you're kind of angry about cutting you out of it and whatever, and that's kind of why you're not paying her for it, but that's not really a basis to not pay her what she's owed. I find she's owed it. I find she's owed that entire amount, not a driver's ed
rate
small
changes?
class. Yeah, exactly, because I'm looking at your rates where you paid her that in April for speaking to high school, so I think the rate is appropriate, and I'm ordering you to pay her $800. That's my judgment.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So the judge finds for the plaintiff, she gets the $800. How do you feel about that? You okay with it?
Win or lose, our goal is to try to save a life every day with the Texas Awareness Foundation. And if Mr. Torres took this approach, that's fine. If we can save a life is our goal.
Are you still doing it?
Yes, every day.
You still get the word out?
Yes, as much as we can through PSAs, through internet, through any way we can, through decals, posters, signage, anything we can do.
Okay, well, congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your help today.
Doorway is that way. Ms. Torres?
Hi.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Sounds like you do wonderful work.
Absolutely. I love my job. I can't think of a better way of honoring my dad than by going around and sharing his story with the hopes I can impact just one person.
Now, what kind of response do you get from the kids when you talk to them?
Oh my gosh. I just received an email 2 weeks ago from a school that I spoke with 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And a girl had said that because of what I had said made her realize what she was doing behind the wheel was extremely dangerous. And she promised that she would never, ever, ever text and drive.
Well, that should make you feel good.
Absolutely. Warms my heart.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Harvey, good word.
Okay, I just want to tell you something, and I'm not doing it just to scare you, but if you text and drive, things can happen like that. And if you end up killing somebody by accident and you didn't mean to do it, you can still be criminally prosecuted for involuntary manslaughter.